welcome to the Perfectly Pocket Sized podcast for fans of this amazing hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds, the Switch 2. I am here, Antonio, aka Hypecaster, with my best buds, Clay and David, and we are here today to talk about Metroid Prime 4. It's finally here for those of you who waited years to play this game. It has finally arrived, and the reception is mixed. But first, I want to kick things off with a quick get to know you question. And I just want everybody's thoughts on Metroidvanias because I am hit or miss on them. I played like some classics, like I played it Symphony of the Night way later, and I enjoyed it. I like Guacamelee. I've played things like Ori and the Blind Forest, but I don't really get super far into these games. Like, I think it's classified as a Metroidvania. Like, I played SteamWorld Dig and I really enjoyed that game of all of them, but I am hit or miss. I am not one of these people that are like super addicted to the genre. I don't seek out the games normally. But this is like a hybrid game. It's like, the first person, but also a Metroid game. A lot of people were complaining that there's not a whole lot of Metroidvania type stuff in the game. But what are your thoughts? David, what do you think? Are you a Metroidvania Castleroid fan at all?
Not really. I've played through some mainly. Actually, I think the only one I've ever completed is Metroid Zero Mission. If you
Mm,
count Prime and Prime 3 as Metroidvanias, I also completed those two as well.
mhm.
Um,
I also played Zero Mission. I thought it was an excellent game.
yes, I mean I
I,
played them with save states, which is I think the way I prefer to play Metroidvanias is via emulator, so I don't have to use their stupid save systems.
I
Um, but But yeah, it's a lot of people's like favorite genre, and it's one of those ones that like it has to be good to like get me. Just like if I hear the word Metroidvania, I don't get excited. I'm actually felt the opposite. It was like, what? Look, I might enjoy it, but you guys got to do a good job of not overdoing the backtracking, having reasonable save points, or just letting you save anywhere, and not having just this crushingly, brutal difficulty level and bosses and stuff like that to the point where you're doing things over and over again. Which is usually my problem with Metroidvanias is they don't always respect your time either through poor level design and over backtracking or just unforgiving save points.
You bring up a really good point. Like, if it's done right, then yeah. One thing I have to mention before I forget is there's an amazing Metroidvania called Ghost Song, and Ghost Song is a really good one. It came out on Game Pass a while ago. It got me actually hooked. Like, they just do so many little things well to keep you pulling along, and I think that that's key. Clay, are you a Metroidvania Castleroid fan?
So I think I'm pretty neck and neck with you, Antonio. I very similar. Where I've played Metroid games when I was a kid, but never. I don't think I've ever gotten to credits on many of them. Enjoyed Prime a lot on the GameCube. In fact, the Metroid game I've probably played the most is Metroid Prime Hunters for the DS.
Whoa.
Oddly, yeah,
People
it's kind
don't
of
like that game. Was it did you like it?
I love that game. When I was a kid, it was the closest thing I had to Halo,
Yeah.
and the fact that I could play it online against other people, and there was like you could talk to other people online through the microphone. Like I thought that was the coolest thing, and you could play it multiplayer with bots, and so I would just go and play multiplayer with bots for hours and absolutely loved it. And so there's a character in this game that is from those games or from that game, and I thought that was really cool. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you. I've tried a lot of other Metroidvanias, and I end up kind of falling away from them over time. But I enjoy them at first, and I see why people like them. But I would not call myself a purist or an enthusiast by any means. I don't hate them, but I don't think they're for everybody either. And so I've had mixed
Yeah.
results with these kinds of games.
One of my frustrations always with the indie scene, which is where everyone always tells you to go because AAA isn't been doing as good, is that they really overdo like maybe three genres, and Metroidvania is like one of them. It's always like a Metroidvania, a roguelike, or a Souls-like. And I'm like, I don't really like e- either of those genres that much.
Yeah,
Metroidvania probably the best out of those three, but I do wish that we would see more diversity in the indie space when it comes to that
100%.
type of
It's
thing.
like they
Yeah.
latch onto a genre and you
Yeah.
get like 100,000 of those games for like 3 years and then they move on to something else. But today we are talking about Metroid Prime 4, a game that was originally announced way back in 2017. Since then, it was rebooted. It was developed by Retro Studios, published by Nintendo. And of course, it's a first person action adventure game. Um, the Metroid series has their, I would say, the classic 2D side scrolling Metroidvania. And then you have this first person one. I have not dipped into like the Prime games. I think I tried them all, just like, put hands on the controller for a while, but I just never understood the appeal. Going in kind of a blank slate, I had no expectations about what makes a great Prime game. A lot of people say Prime 1 was the best. And I think for me, my synopsis of the game is that it has a lot of good and a lot of like not so good, and it's a mix that keeps me going just enough where I had a choice, and I could play other games or I could play Metroid Prime. And so many times I actually reached for Metroid Prime. And as I was putting it down, I was like, okay, so much about this game is frustrating to me, but I just had to see the next thing because there are like highlights every little while. And it was just enough where I wanted to see the next showpiece, like level design. I wanted to see the next boss. It was just enough. So again, to me, overall, lukewarm, lots of good, a lot of not so good. Clay, what was your overall thoughts of the game?
I'll go ahead and just start off by saying I think this is arguably the best looking video game on the Nintendo Switch right now.
Hmm.
So it definitely has that going for it. What a just a beautiful thing to look at, man. And so even though half the time I was like not sure what was going on while I'm playing this game, it's just a delight to look at. It's a delight to run around and look at things and scan things, and um, so I really enjoy that about it. Um, it took me a minute to shift my mind into what this is. And one of my friends said this to me. He said, think of it less as a Metroid game and think of it more as like a Zelda game where you're like in a Zelda dungeon basically the whole time. And I kind of shifted my mentality a little bit toward that, and I feel like it actually made me enjoy it even a little bit more. Um, there's a part not too far into the game where you get stuck in a certain area where there's like electricity on the ground, and they make it very clear like you're probably not supposed to get through here. You can see these things on the walls that if you scan them, they tell you that there's something you can get to grab them to traverse with them. And so I was like, all right, so clearly they're trying to tell me you need some kind of grappling hook or something to get through here. But then I couldn't figure out where else to go. I was like, well, I've been everywhere else in this area that I was in. But it was like, well, idiot, you're supposed to leave, move on to a completely different area, and then eventually come back to this. And I
Yeah.
just like wasn't mentally thinking that way. I kept thinking like, well, I've explored everywhere in this little building that I'm in, and this is the only place I haven't gone. So clearly I need to go here. But every time I try to get through there, I would just get killed. And so it was like, I had to think even bigger, even broader. Like, okay, you're gonna have to return here later, but like much later, like not in the next 5 minutes later. And so
Yeah.
the scope of it was just I had to kind of shift my brain a little bit.
Because you have that hub world and then connected to the other areas, I felt this like very intense feeling that leaving would be wrong. But then once you leave a certain point, there might be a cutscene or something might happen where there's some indication of like, yep, you're going the right way. Like one time I left and the guy was like, oh wait, did you forget something? And like telling me to go back inside. So it doesn't feel natural, the flow of like when you're supposed to leave an area, when you're missing something in the area. The game does give you some hints sometimes, but as far as flow, very odd. Like very odd to me. David, what was your overall impressions of the game?
Yeah, I'll echo what Clay said, that it is an absolutely beautiful game. I really like the atmosphere, the music. And it is a game that like makes me want to keep playing it because of those things, because of that sense of discovery, which is something that I really like. Which is kind of what makes the frustrations all the worse almost, because it's like I want to keep going and experiencing this game. I'm also getting really frustrated at times. Um, there was one section where I just like would play through large sections 2 or 3 times, die before I get to the save point, and then have to do it all over again. Which I understand this doesn't bother a lot of people, particularly people in hardcore gaming circles. That's like almost like a feature rather than a bug. Keep doing the same thing over and over to get at it. But like I don't have much time to play video games, and I don't really love that stuff. So that was really kind of discouraging for me. Is just like the space between the fact that you can only save at save points, and the space between save points can sometimes be significantly too long. Whereas if you die or you lose power or something happens, then you're just kind of like stuck. Like I rage quit like a couple times and just like played something else and came back to it later.
I reached
Um,
out to you guys. I was like, it's been 45 minutes since I found a save point. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to have like a short session. So, and I didn't want to leave it in suspend mode, even though that probably would just be fine. But I totally agree with you about these save points. I feel like in this game in particular, because I played other Metroidvanias even recently, and there I would just feel like, okay, where's the save point? It should be right around here, and then they just didn't. So there are some longer, lengthier segments. The hub worlds are larger than I anticipate. Like there's like, oh, there's another level, there's another tower, there's three of these. Like it just seemed like there was just more to the stages, which, there's a lot of corridors. There's a lot of like you have to go quite a few meters or whatever you want to call it. You have to go quite a bit to the next thing. One thing I had to bring up as far as a negative that I think just really destroys so much of the experience for me is the scanning, because the scanning is something that people who've played Prime games understand as a core mechanic. Scan everything, get more information about the world. It's a lore thing, but it also has an indication of like, oh, this is a door, it can't be unlocked, period. Or this is a thing that can be destroyed with something like this, and it gives you hints. And I kept feeling like the scan takes the scan takes like 2.5 seconds or something. Maybe it's just 2 seconds, but it feels so long. And the little dial just, we're scanning like thousands of times. And I just felt like if it went twice as fast, it would be less frustrating. But I found myself scanning and waiting those 2 seconds. And I was just like, I couldn't take it. And what was worse is sometimes you have to scan something for the button to show up that you have to hit A on. So let's just say it's an elevator. You have to scan the elevator, then it comes alive and becomes a button, and then you can hit it. And I'm like, why is this just not a button? And it gets better. They stop doing, or they do it less over time, but there's one level in particular where you had to scan to make the thing become the thing. And then in some of these games you're learning the design language, like, oh, if this is red, shoot the red weapon at it. If this is yellow, do the yellow thing at it. But a lot of these things were not intuitive, and they were like alien symbols, and you had to know, oh, this shape with this slight outline that you could easily miss, that's a thing you scan, and then you move it with your telepathic powers. And I was not getting the design language of this game. So that was my biggest gripe, honestly, with the whole experience, was the scanning. And I don't think that the lore I just got to a part where universally there's supposed to be a lot of good lore, and but it's all in these tablet things that you find that you're supposed to read, and I didn't feel like reading them at the time, and that was it. So like, I'm sure I will because I hear it's such a good part, but if not, the story's kind of minimal. The lore, like, it doesn't feel very alive. Like the areas, they look beautiful, but yeah, just some of my negatives. Clay, any big positive or negative about the game that you'd like to talk about, either or?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't finished the game yet, so I can only speak into as far as I'm in. I don't know if I necessarily agree with your complaint about scanning everything. I haven't
Mhm.
felt that fatigue yet, but maybe after I play more of the game, eventually I'll be like sick of it. But it hasn't fully bothered me. I'll say I actually enjoy the boss battles in this game. I mean, I've only played a couple now, but they seem relatively they're not necessarily like the most complex bosses in the world. I don't even know what a complex boss would be or look like, but I think they do a good job of having different things you have to do. You know, you're shooting a bunch of stuff, and then eventually you kind of have to dodge different attacks and stuff. So it's not just mindlessly, firing the whole time. There's some other technique to the boss battles, which I appreciate. And so I really like those. The motorcycle seems really fun. We could maybe talk about that. I
Mm.
like I said, I think I've barely scratched the surface of it. I've done I don't know if there's multiple of these. I did the first kind of trials, if you will,
Mm.
for the motorcycle, and that wasn't overly like frustrating or anything. I enjoyed it. And then I'm trying to think of things I don't like. Um, I'm not really thinking of anything right this second, but I I like it. I think that the controls, that's what I was going to talk about. I think the game controls really well. I've only played with a pro controller,
Mhm.
and I think I don't know if I want to play it any other way than that. I have been curious to try the mouse controls, but I haven't heard great things, and so I just haven't gotten around to trying it yet. But the pro controller is giving me everything I need. I did go into the settings and turn on the motion assist in the with the controller, which
Yeah.
isn't necessary. I don't
Mhm.
need it, but I just was curious to try it, and I don't mind it in things like Breath of the Wild and um, some Splatoon and stuff. As a secondary aiming, not my primary. Like I don't want to do all my aiming with moving the Pro controller. I want to do most of it with the sticks and then do some fine tuning with the controller, and so I
Right.
like that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. These boss battles are so good. Like the design of the bosses is fun, the mechanics, the mechanics and the just the standard gameplay of like the strafing. At first it really put me off. I was like, "Oh, everyone else who loves Prime games loves this like strafing left, locking on, then like shooting and then like it's very unique, the control scheme, but the boss battles with that control scheme, then things start to flow and they feel like smooth and it feels good to be good at the game. Whereas all the other like any medium enemy or boss enemy, great. The the smaller enemies, just the ones that are just kind of cannon fodder, I just felt like it wasn't really like fun in the moment to moment to be shooting at things, but the boss battles just kept me going. I thought they were absolutely excellent. So and the controls you can lock on and like you're almost like feel like you're moving that cannon with that directional input to aim, and then you get a little bit more of like the motion where you can fine tune, and that I agree with you that that feels really good. David, any other positives or negatives about the game?
I think a lot more than what you guys have already covered. I think it's I I I can't have a hard time ranking it until I like actually complete it. Um, but I would say that I did want to touch on that I wasn't bothered by some of the things that people were complaining about off the bat, meaning the NPCs.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't really too. I'm not saying they're good, but at the same time, they weren't. I feel like what I was presented with some of the commentary online leading into the game made it sound like it was way, way worse than it actually was. Um, and I was like, yeah, they're annoying, but like they felt like much smaller portion of what I was playing than I was led to believe. So that's a positive there. I don't think it's a big deal. And for my enjoyment so far, I still like. I'm a weirdo, and out of the three that I've played now, I haven't played two. I still think I like three the best for some reason, despite like the terrible controls. But I don't remember it being as frustrating as four.
Mm.
And I felt one to be a little frustrating as well when I completed it. I kind of had to force myself to get through that game. So, if you like Metroid Prime, I still think you'll probably like this. But
I,
if you're kind of like me and kind of like, it's just one of those franchises that's okay. It's not like a big tentpole to me like it is for some people. People who put like Metroid Prime up there with like Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64 are crazy. Like,
the to your point about the NPCs, it was a clickbait smear campaign. What they did, trying to talk about the NPCs being annoying, because the first one you meet that everyone was up in arms about, the videos that came out about the preview were edited in a very um disingenuous way, where it was making it seem like he wouldn't shut up, etc.
yep,
But if you go and you actually play those segments, it's over so quickly that they edited it in a way that it made it seem like he wouldn't shut up. But really, that's all the lines he ever says. Nothing was like excluded from their preview
yeah,
cut. It was not bad. They look absolutely amazing. Like they look like facially, their eyes, and they did an amazing job with that. Their personalities aren't bad. I thought the funny guy was like decently funny, and then he goes away. They all go away. Anybody who said that you play half the time with them in your ear, definitely not the case. There's like five major things you have to do, or keys, and like I'm three going on four, so I'm well into the game, and I have never. If anything, when they pop up again, I'm like, good, someone to talk to. Samus not speaking does not seem badass to me. I don't get anything from her, like comically never saying anything. It just seems awkward. So I enjoyed the NPCs.
yeah.
Can I get your thoughts on the bike and the ball mode? To me, the person who did the ball mode, the morph ball segments are amazing. I walk around in morph ball mode. Like the
Yeah,
motion feels fantastic. The
that's I mean that's been yeah that's been I mean that's been great in pretty much all Metroid games. The morph ball has always been like a highlight. Always fun. I've liked the bike from what I have used it. I have not like significantly like traveled around like the desert yet. Um, I've heard some people criticize that there's not that much there, and it's just open world to be open world. I can't really speak to that yet because I haven't really seriously dived into that part of the game. But
the bike itself is not bad, but there's a boost that you get, but it's very limited. They let you boost and then they make you wait, and you can fill up the meter, but it's on a timer and it's way too long. Like I'm like, let me have fun. Like it's big, it's open. I feel like it's made for me to go like even faster, but it just feels kind of limited. But the morph ball was just, it was keeping me playing anytime I can go into the ball. Anytime there's a puzzle with the morph ball stuff, I'm like, this is really well done. There are people in this game who knocked it out of the park and they deserve every recognition. Like they are the best morph ball, like motion, whatever person. Like they are awesome at their job. How about you, Clay? Any other thoughts about the game?
Um, overall, I think yeah, I'm not the biggest Metroid Prime guy. I haven't played two or three. I've only played one, and so I was excited to try this because it's been a while since I've played the series, and I'm super happy with it. For being a Nintendo first-person shooter of sorts, I think it checks all the boxes. Dude, just think about if we were like 9 or 10 and we got this game for Christmas with a Switch 2, how freaking sick would that be? Like,
Yeah,
I think this is
100%.
a great like first entry for like a younger kid
Hmm.
um into like first person shooters. If maybe they haven't played a lot of them, like I think this would be a really good one. There are times where it's like it might be difficult for a kid to know what to do or where to go. Like, it doesn't really hold your hand very well.
Hmm.
I noticed that today. Even I got done with a boss, and I was just like, all right, I got one of the 5 things that Tony was talking about, but it's like, okay, now what do I do with it
Yeah.
though? And where do I go? And so it probably doesn't hold your hand as much as it should.
Yeah.
Um, so that part could be challenging for kids, but I don't know. I think kids will look at this game, and maybe Mario isn't cool anymore for, at a certain age where you're like, I'm done with those kid games. But this still feels like Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS for me, where it was like, this is my Halo. Like, I might not have an Xbox, but I got a Switch, but I've got Metroid. It's cool. It's a first person shooter. And so for that, I think it serves a really good purpose. It adds to the collection of the very limited Switch 2 Nintendo properties that are, first party games that are out at this point. And so I think it brings something really nice. The difficulty, I think I have it on normal, and I think it works pretty well. Whereas the bosses still do a lot of damage, and I still feel like I can die, but I still think they're pretty generous with dropping health and
Hmm.
missiles and stuff. And so I think it's not too difficult. And if you play it smart and you continue to look for health and you're pulling those in when you're like fighting bosses and stuff, I think every boss is beatable. You just have to, be smart about it and stuff. So I think they nailed the difficulty part. I have a friend who beat this game twice on normal difficulty and then went and beat it on a third difficulty, or on
Whoa.
hard, and said that it was totally doable. And so, um, yeah, I
That's a
like
lot of
this,
Metroid. That's a
right?
lot of
Yeah,
Metroid to
that's
play.
crazy.
Yeah, it's a good game. It had potential to be better, but it was stuck in development hell. That this version was scrapped in early 2019, and then they rebooted it, so it was in the cooker for quite a while. And for it to have finally come out, I think is a positive thing. And I hope that they come out with more games. They have some amazing talent, like for the set pieces and the visuals and the boss battles and the morph ball. For all the complaints I had, there was good stuff there that kept pulling me. I'm like, oh man, I want to play that next morph ball segment. I want to do that next boss. I want to see this next amazing showpiece. There were moments where the level would just get very cinematic, and you could tell that this was their vision for this level. They wanted to get to this crescendo visual moment, and my jaw just dropped. Like, it becomes so cinematic, and I thought I was in a cutscene, and I wasn't, and I was like, this is awesome. It's at its best when it gets weird, when it gets sci-fi, when it throws out situations where its very unique control scheme works well with what it's asking you to do. So it's a good game. Could have been better, but I'm very glad that I'm playing it, and I plan to wrap it up. Um, Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. It is the holiday time. Happy Kwanzaa or whatever, the Hanukkah and Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to us and tuning in and sharing this hobby with us. I feel like the Switch 2 is about to explode in 2026 with awesome stuff. So we will be back. We have a couple more games that we're going to cover. Probably won't get another episode until 2026, but we appreciate you, and we will see you next year.